Welcome, FinTech Talkers, to another edition of the FinTech Talk Show. I'm your host, Patty. My guest today is Rob Straathof, CEO of Liberis, from across the pond, if I may say, a company on a mission to provide accessible and efficient financing to the underserved small business segment. Rob has a deep background in financial services in Europe, which he is going to mention. Welcome, Rob, to the FinTech Talk Show. Before we go on to our featured guest today, a huge thank you to our audience for making FinTech Talk one of the top-ranked FinTech and AI podcasts, recognized in the top 10% globally by Listen Notes, and as a leading FinTech podcast by FeedSpot. FinTech Talk dives deep into FinTech, artificial intelligence, crypto, and how these technologies are fundamentally reshaping our world. Join me as I interview the CEOs of unicorns, future unicorns, disruptors, and big thinkers driving innovation forward. Want to be featured on FinTech Talk? You or your client can join the conversation. Just visit fintechtalk.substack.com, click on About, and follow the link to schedule your spot.
Thanks, Patty, for having me on the FinTech Talk Show. It's been a long cherished dream of me to actually be on your talk show. So thanks for inviting me.
Thank you for that. Awesome. So before we get into Liberis and what you're building there, can you tell us a little bit about yourself and what led you to building a lending tech business?
Sure. So having had having a family that all have small businesses, I would say small business, the virus of starting a small business was ingrained very young with me. I started out my first business together with my brother back in the early 2000s in catering, and he's actually still running that, which is quite interesting. And all of my family, especially my dad's side, have run small businesses and have had their fair share of financial troubles with mortgages, with banks, with lending, with taking out financing, not getting credit cards, etc. So from that perspective, it's always been in the back of my head is like, why do my parents need to guarantee their private house to take a loan for their own business? And not just underwritten on the profitability of the business that has been there for 25 years and doing incredibly well. So that was always in the back of my head. Then I joined JP Morgan in 2006, learned everything about investment banking, joined Wonga in 2012, where I saw the up and coming wave of fintech. And what I saw there was, there's so much to be disrupted with automated algorithms and personalized finance and, using new data to underwrite customers. Now, also learned everything what not to do at Wonga, especially from a customer perspective and a regulation perspective. And then in 2015, I had a lot of data and information about business lending from my time at Wonga and Everline, and thought, look, why don't I combine the need for the business finance, where I had the background from my family, with actually putting my money where my mouth is and going into embedded finance. So back then, it wasn't called embedded finance; it was actually called partnership-led funding, which rolled off the tongue. And then we started off in 2015 designing the first partnership-led journey with WorldPay, actually, in the UK, where we supported small businesses with funding through the WorldPay dashboard. And that was version 1.0. It was basically PayPal working capital or Stripe working capital that they didn't have yet for businesses that had an ecosystem of small businesses, but didn't have the financial product behind it. So we started doing that in 16. And then in 2019, I think it was Andreessen Horowitz or Bain Capital Ventures came out with, embedded finance is going to take over the world. And I'm like, that's it. That is Liberis. We are, on the forefront of embedded finance. Fast forward a few years, but also like all the research reports right now from Bain Capital, from Bain, consulting, exactly, from McKinsey. You just see that they're falling over each other of forecasting how big this market is going to be. And I think the latest number that I've read was Bain was saying 7 trillion by 2030, 30% growth year on year. All the platforms will come in and want embedded finance in whatever view, form, or way that is. And that's exactly where I got really excited. 10 years in right now, we've only started it. So tiny bit of my background, but it's been so far a roller coaster of a journey over the last 10 years.
Awesome. I think you've been on both sides. That's the quintessential entrepreneur in terms of first understanding where the problem is, like your family's background in small business, you yourself did it, and then you worked in the industry. So you kind of saw both sides. And I work with a lot of startups and folks who kind of see that full kind of or have been on both sides do really well, Rob. So thank you for sharing your story. You kind of emphasize that embedded finance and kind of almost a light bulb moment when I think Andreessen talked about embedded finance, and they come up with this good kind of aphorisms, I guess, for lack of a better word, right? Like every software is eating the world and things like that. I love them for that. So why, maybe just to kind of establish some foundation for our audience, why is embedded finance significant?
Great question. So, I see it a bit like, frictionless payments, for example. You didn't, or Uber for that regard, like you didn't know you need it up until you actually use it. And then all of a sudden you're like, this is changing the world. And some of those light bulb moments you have when you did your first Uber, and I was in San Francisco in 2012, I think it was. When I started using it, I was back home. I was like, this is amazing. You just order it on your phone and it knows exactly where you are. And then, the payments goes automatically through. It is frictionless. It is, a few clicks. It is the best customer experience that you can get. And you see that in the industry in many things happening. Deliveroo is a great example. Right now, with several of the banking services that you didn't really know that you needed them, but now all of a sudden you have them. You're like, this is amazing. Frictionless FX with Revolut, or with your Monzo account. It's great. I can transfer money to my parents in an instant without having to think about FX rates and costs, etc. Now, if you take that down to small business owners, the average small business owner is using 6 to 7 different platforms to run their business. And this can run from the payment terminal in store to the online gateway that they need to take online payments, to integrating with Deliveroo or Just Eat, to Amazon and eBay, all the way to managing their business through an accounting system and understanding what their cash flow is. And if you talk to an average business owner, give my brother as an example, they spend 6 to 8 hours a week on just like making sure that they can pay their employees and get their invoices in, and their accounting software is up to date, etc. And then I talked to my mom, and she's like, "Ooh, I'm doing all the accounting software, like I have to do all the manual invoices, etc." Now, what if there is an integrated platform that can do all of that with the help of not only being integrated into all the systems, but also with the help of OpenAI or Gen AI to help you with automated tasks and taking a whole bunch of that admin work out of your hands. Now, my view and why it's so significant is saving small business owners on average 6 to 8 hours a week, but also making sure that things are far more accurate, and that you have the cash flow to pay your people, and that you do file your taxes on time, and HMRC isn't coming after you to pay that VAT bill. That is by far one of the most significant pieces for running a small business. But then if you take that to the next level, is if you run a delicatessen shop like my brother and my parents do, or pizzas, or you run your online shop with Vegaro, which is a hairdress salon software, you get every single bit of insights from that piece of software now. Now, give you a bit of an indication there. If you're on Vegaro, on the integrated software package, as a small business owner with a hair salon, you can now see not only your customers that come in store, of course, they can do the bookings there, they can spin up an account, they can spin up a card, they can get financed through it. But now what we're working towards is tying that all together and actually getting them the analytics that says, between 4 and 6 on a Tuesday afternoon, you're very, very quiet. Why don't you do some marketing? And then all of a sudden it pops up like, not only can we do some marketing, but here's £5,000 to do some marketing, or $5,000 to put some marketing out on TikTok or on Facebook or on Instagram, wherever your clients are hanging out. And with that ROI of that marketing, I can already tell you that you're going to make 10 times your money. So you're going to make $50,000 on the basis of the $5,000 of investment. And that's the power of embedded finance and embedded analytics that we're now going to be able to provide. It can help a small business owner run their business so much more efficient and grow their revenues far better than what it could be before. Now, I'll give you two more examples because I get very excited about embedded finance and small business owners. But with eBay, for example, if I can tell you, that you can buy stock right now in the Philippines or in China or in India, wherever somebody buys stock from, and you can get a really good deal by paying it upfront right now, and you need the money right now. If I can get you that money in 30 seconds, you'd be like, that's great. Where do I click right now? Now that's the power that we have with eBay, fully integrated journey. We analyze your payments over the last few years. We know exactly how much you've done in terms of volumes and customers in the last, let's say 3 months. We take those volumes and say, you are pre-approved for $50,000 of funding. You can buy your inventory, and you don't have to wait on a credit decision from a bank. You have it in your account in 30 seconds. Now, that is so powerful and so enabling for those businesses that they can buy the stock probably 30, 40, 50% cheaper, take that opportunity, sell it for $250,000 and make a $200,000 profit. Now, that's the enablement. And that's what we see in the data as well. Like the businesses that we serve on average grow about 20 to 25% faster than the businesses that don't take out the funding. But what if we can make that double of that with marketing analytics? What if we can make that double in terms of cost analytics and customer analytics? If I can tell you, Patty, your optimal customer is buying from you between 3 and 6 on a Friday afternoon. That's when you do the most deals. All of a sudden, you now know how to optimize your price for that. Those are the kind of analytics I think over the next 5 years are really going to dominate embedded finance and make those small businesses so much more successful.
Yeah, no, a lot to unpack there. Thanks, Rob, for sharing all this. So as I hear you speak, it's more than just lending and workflow capital access. I mean, that's a big component of it, but it almost like, just to use a term from the AI world, right? You're almost building a small business co-pilot. Which provides kind of 360 view and assistant almost with the analytics. And you talked about marketing analytics, when and what the small business should do, and with what type of customer segments they should kind of target. And then the instant liquidity part, right? And banks have missed out, and maybe I'll ask you about that because you worked in banks as well. Because a lot of this information is already there, maybe with the banks. And why are they not able to kind of do what you are doing, say a traditional bank, with their relationship bankers and stuff?
Yeah, that's a good question. It's the fallacy of innovation, but it's also the fallacy of big numbers, right? Where a big bank, if it doesn't stack up and delivers at least 10 million of profit, why would they invest in it? And if they can see the profitability of their existing customer base is incredibly strong, and they don't have a need right now to roll it out, they will always wait until somebody is successful and then actually either try to replicate it or try to buy it at that point. So where we have I would say lots of partners that we can innovate with and get instant data. We also have far better infrastructure, I would say, that lends itself very quickly for testing. We can do tests in a few weeks' time. We can roll out continuous testing. It's much easier for us to spin that up and allocate some resources to it than a big bank that actually then needs to hold some other projects that they have that might deliver 5 or 10 million of profit, etc. Now, that's the innovator's dilemma, I would say. But then from a small business perspective, if you now look who is the main aggregator of small business relationships, it is the platforms, it is the ISVs, it is the people that help small business owners run their business much better. And what I looked at over the past few years is the shift from a business owner calling up their banker and saying, "Hey, I need some help with this," to looking at the platforms and saying, I need some help with my inventory. I need some help with looking at my marketing efficiency, etc. And that's a very different relationship that's starting to build up from Gen Z and I say the millennials. I'm technically millennial, I guess, to the Gen Z generation, where they trust those platforms far better than they do the banks. And their number one point of contact isn't anymore, I need some lending, I'm going to the bank. No, their number one point of contact is right now, so can I get this through Apple, Google, Facebook, Instagram, eBay, Amazon, etc. And that's a really interesting dynamic in terms of changing behaviors in customers and small business owners.
Yeah, too. And I totally agree with what you're saying. And fintechs, you're nimble, you're smaller, and you can innovate. I want to go back to that co-pilot point that I made before I kind of posed the bank question. What do you think about that? Do you see yourself as that, like almost you provide workflow capital or instant access to liquidity for the small business, but you're more than that. You're almost like a small business co-pilot, and your background and your family's background of running small businesses, you've kind of ascertained or discerned what are some of the challenges, and you're building that as kind of almost a co-pilot, very focused with data and analytics. So what do you think about that, Rob?
Look, I think that's exactly what Liberis is trying to build. So thank you for putting the words in my mouth. Basically, it's like Liberis co-pilot to for all your business needs, for all your financial business needs. I think I should patent that line right now, Patty. Thanks for that. It is exactly what we're trying to build. It is the financial operating system for platforms to help their small business owners become de facto sorry, let me rephrase that. What we're trying to build with Liberis is the de facto financial operating system for platforms, where a small business owner can come to the platform, not just see the supply side or the demand side of their business, but also all their financial insights. And because we get the real-time data, not just from the platforms, but also from open banking or different integration systems, we can then also serve them with the analytical insights and the advice that someone needs to optimize their marketing or optimize their inventory or optimize their selling strategy. Now, if you take that to the ultimate next level, is can we also then do the employee payments, for example, or the salary payments? Can we give them more advice on integrations into their accounting system, or even a tax module? And I think that's exactly what over the next 5 years is going to be on the roadmap for Liberis. We're going to integrate every single aspect of running that business and becoming that co-pilot from a financial perspective to the business owner, and helping them with their success, because ultimately our success is tied to the platform success is tied to the small business owner success. So if we can actually help small business owners grow faster, help them with their cash flow, and make sure that they actually have 6 to 8 hours of extra time because they don't have to do all the admin anymore, it is a triple win situation.
Totally. And like you earlier mentioned, right, the fragmentation, like they have to use 6 or 8 systems, from banks to accounting to marketing, and hop from different, they don't talk to each other. And if you can make them all talk to each other and be that one kind of dashboard to control, and not just a dashboard to view, but almost the CNS or central nervous system to kind of manage everything optimally, that's hugely powerful. Meaning that's what, like, all small business owners, and you would know because you've kind of run small businesses. That's huge. Let's maybe shift gears to kind of the go-to-market, or how do you, I mean, this is kind of a compelling value proposition, but small businesses are very kind of diverse, and you need foot soldiers to go reach to them, because we're talking mom and pop shops and stuff. So how are you kind of approaching that? How do you get the word out? How do you get them on your platform? Do you work through channel partnerships or direct selling? Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's a great question, Patty. So small business owners are notoriously difficult to reach, and you can do oodles of of marketing money, and for a small business owner to actually spend money on your product, you need to have proven yourself like 10 times better than for a consumer marketing product. And knowing my parents, knowing my brother, like for them to take part with their hard-earned money, they better get good value for money, because otherwise you get them all chasing you. So what we decided very early on in the journey of embedded finance is, we work through our channel partners. So over time, Liberis as a brand is known to ISVs and marketplaces and payment acquirers and partners, but it's not really known to the end customer anymore, because we work like exclusively almost under our partners' brand names now. So it is Vegaro Finance, it is eBay Seller Finance, it is WorldPay Business Finance, it is Barclaycard Business Cash Advance. We work with our partners to make sure that we use their brand name to market to them. Now, if you look at small business owners' psyche, there's three things that really holds them back from applying for finance, for example. Now, number one is the fear of rejection. So, if they go into a bank manager's or a bank branch and they have to talk to someone about their business, they instantly feel judged. And then if they then get a no, it really hurts them. It's like somebody calling your baby ugly. So what we do is we actually make sure that we pre-approve the majority of our customers. And in some of our partnerships, that is 90 to even 100% of customers that we pre-approve. And that means that, if you go into the dashboard and you see that little logo that says, dear Patty, you are pre-approved for $20,000 of working capital, click here. At the point that you click, you're already pre-approved, and actually, you're not getting a no. And that's really important. Now, that's number one, the fear of rejection. Mm-hmm. Number two is the fear of application. So when I was talking about 6 to 8 hours of admin per week, if they actually apply for finance, the average amount of times that they spend applying for finance is well over 20 hours. This is from, I think, research from the US. Mm-hmm. 20 hours to actually apply for funding with a bank. Like that 20 hours, we can actually now do in 3 minutes. We already have your data. We already know your name. We know your address because we work with the partner. We know your data. So up to a certain level, and for Liberis, that's now in the US around $60,000. We don't need additional information because we can use the information from the platform that we work with to do all the background work. Great. So we take that fear of rejection away. We take the fear of application away. Now, number three, and this comes back to the marketing question you asked me, is trust. If I market on the Liberis and the small business owner doesn't know what Liberis is, they're going to think like, oh, these guys are going to take my house away and they're coming after my car and my second-born child, et cetera, et cetera. Like, we don't. What we actually do is we work under the brand name of our partner, and that instantly instills trust in them. So if we come under eBay Seller Capital or Seller Finance, or WorldPay Working Capital, they know that this is legit. It is already a partner that they work with. So the take up is much higher if you work with those brands as well. And then from a marketing perspective, if you look at co-branding, that's fine. But we're also very happy to just become that financial infrastructure layer where actually we are just the Intel inside for the likes of eBay Seller Capital, for example.
No, very compelling. So white label with channel partnership, and that kind of obviously your customer acquisition costs go down. And I love the pre-approval and the other aspect you mentioned, the reducing the application. I guess the point you made earlier around frictionless experience, right? So this almost works autonomously when you kind of know when they need capital and you pre-approve them so that they don't have to kind of have the fear of rejection, like you mentioned, and also not collect all the documents that they would typically do if they had to go to a bank to get some workflow capital. It's almost like it's there, like the car is there when you order an Uber and it comes to you, and you don't have to take a credit card out. Similarly, it's there when they log into the system, the workflow capital is there and they just click a button, looks like, right? Exactly. That's kind of the frictionless experience you're building.
And it comes back to what are I would say the millennials and the Gen Z are experiencing more and more. It's the instant fulfillment. You don't have to wait for it. You get your answer in a few minutes. What we call is a 4-click journey that we actually have live, where people can just in 4 clicks know whether they're approved or not. The additional benefit of this is not only the trust and the ease of application, etc., but also pricing. So coming back to pricing and originating through marketing, between 2016 and 2020, I think it was, the search term on Google for small business finance was the highest paid search term on Google. And it could lead easily to like $50, $60 per click. So you need 100 clicks to get someone through. So basically you had a $5,000 or $6,000 cost of acquisition at that point. That's insane. Instead of that, we actually we use revenue share with our partners, and we can drop that pricing well down for small business owners to get a much better price than if they would go in the open market. And that's kind of the power of having the data as well. You can not only see when somebody needs the funding, you can hyper personalize it based on someone's individual circumstances, whether it's marketing money, inventory money, or cash flow. But then you can also give the best pricing because you have better data and because you don't have that high upfront cost for origination.
Gotcha. So the distribution's white label. What about the balance sheet? Are you kind of working with your channel partner's balance sheet, or do you have your own balance sheet that you lend from? And what geographies? Is it just UK, Rob, or are you UK and Europe? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So we do a combination of both on the funding side. We have some really great arrangements with some of our funders. We have Barclays in place. We have HSBC in place. But we also do what we would call the infrastructure layer, where we actually use someone's own balance sheet to fund their own customers. So all of it is through exactly the same system. We do the whole servicing. We can do it on a modular basis. So we built the platform in a way that we can do the targeting, the arrangement, the loan management system, the disbursement, the collections, etc. We can individually switch them on and off, but we can also use someone's own balance sheet, a third-party balance sheet, and we can even distinguish by partner, by region, and even by industry, should we want to do that. So very flexible in terms of the funding arrangements. And from a partner perspective, it doesn't particularly matter whether we fund it or they take it on their own balance sheet. What is far more important is how do we get to a 90 or 100% accept rate? And with a combination of the two, we can easily get there.
Very good.
And then part 2 of your question: where are we live, and what is our core focus? At the moment, I would say Europe is probably about 30%, 35% of our volumes. The UK is probably close to 40, 45% of our volumes, and the rest is the US at the moment. And in terms of countries live, we're live in 14 countries right now. We're adding 15th country this year. Basically, the majority of Europe, UK, US, Canada is where we're live right now.
Wow. So truly global, multinational, and obviously you have multinational partners and they have businesses everywhere. So that's great, Rob. Great to hear. So you're running a business, obviously building a business, multinational business, but there's a bigger mission behind all this around financial inclusion, making credit accessible to the underprivileged in society and promoting upward mobility. So tell us a little bit about that bigger mission.
Right. So, forever I've been intrigued by people starting a small business. And the reason being, the chances of starting a business and being successful and making it to year 1 are actually incredibly slim. If you look at the overall data from the markets that we're live, and especially in the US, we have good data on that. If you start a restaurant in the US, there's a 25% chance you won't make the end of the year 1.
Wow.
So why would people do that? And the reason is, there's a multiple of reasons, needless to say, but the key reason is hope. And the key reason is, as a society, if you can incentivize people to start new businesses and generate, not only economic value add, but wealth for themselves and maintain their family, in I would say the past 40, 50 years, you had the American dream. And the American dream was all about, the bottom 20% of earners moving to the top 20% of earners, the socially upward mobility, economic mobility, I would say. And if you look at those stats for the US, they remain incredibly impressive. And it's a lot of the I'm myself an immigrant, needless to say, but immigrants that start new businesses have this vision and view, like I'm going to start here and I'm going to partake in the American dream. And by now, I would say that it's almost the global dream. It's not just the American dream. It's like, how do you incentivize that entrepreneurship for people to start off and actually grow themselves into the top income regions? Now, in the US, that's 15% approximately. So 15% of people that start a business or people that start working, they actually go from the bottom 20% to the top 20%. In Europe, that is like 7. It's not even half. It's appalling. Like, how do we get more people to get up there? In the UK, it's somewhere around 8 to 10, I believe, which is slightly better, but definitely not as good as the US yet. Now, what the research actually shows is that fair access to capital is the number one predictor of people going from the bottom to the top tier. And it's fair access to capital based upon equal opportunity. And that's key. And what we do with Liberis, and this is where I'm so excited about, is we give people fair access to capital based upon the real underlying metrics. It isn't whether you're male or female, whether you come from a rich background or a poor background. We look at your underlying transaction data and your underlying business data, and not at your previous credit score and your FICO scores. And we actually say, look, you run a solid business. You might have defaulted like a few years ago. All fine. We don't look at that. We look at your current business, and it actually looks like really good. Here's $20,000. Grow your business, and those are the businesses that then grow 20 to 50% faster than the competition. So giving people access to funding helps fuel that, what I call global dream right now, and as morale for a country, but also for motivational aspect. That is what drives people, the hope value of, I can make a better living, a better society. I can provide for my kids. I can get them through school. I can pay for them to go into university, etc. And if we lose that, you get to the situation where a lot of European countries unfortunately are right now, which is the hopelessness. And how do we reinstill that? And I think by providing access to capital, we can reinvigorate that. Now, if you then look at the overall stats of SME finance over the last decade, banks and governments keep saying, well, overall we're still growing. That is fine, but that goes to the middle and large companies. It doesn't go to the smallest companies. The smallest of companies, like year on year, have seen a massive decline in the availability of funding. The overdrafts are being pulled back. The small business loans are being pulled back. The alternative finance companies are trying to fill that gap. But if you look at the stats for the UK and for the US, you can still see that the smallest of businesses are not getting the funding that they need. And 80% of all funding goes to the 20% largest companies. That means that 20% of all funding goes to the 80% of other companies. Now, if we would level that a bit more, you would see, the economic value add. You could see the high amount of jobs created. You can see the motivation and the productivity of a country actually rise. And that's exactly why I strongly believe that Liberis is fulfilling a much larger role in society than just providing funding. We're actually helping those people live up to the global dream.
This is beautiful, Rob. I love it. I think you said something, if I can recall, fair access to capital is one of the key kind of aspects for promoting upward mobility. That is so true. And you're making this happen across different geographies and different countries. And like you said, the immigrant's dream, the American dream, that's kind of scary that the first year or surviving the first year is one of the hardest years for small business. And I can see that, right? Access to capital, especially if you don't have like a background or credit history and things like that, it's hard. But this is awesome. Just like the co-pilot, what comes to me is you're almost building the new microcredit in the West, right? Microcredit, microfinance, they were obviously very micro, but that enabled a lot of upward mobility in kind of more poorer countries in Africa. But we don't have to look to kind of the other side. There's a lot of kind of lack of upward mobility in the West, and through your capital access to some of those kind of folks who are trying to climb up in their in the food chain, you're making that happen. So I'd kind of almost frame it as Liberis is the newer version. It's not microcredit, it's credit in the West.
I love that. That's a great summary. And just to add a tiny addition to that is, what you see with a lot of the I would say the newer generations, the Gen Zs of this world, is they have a side hustle, I would say, and there's a lot of talk about side hustles, and we call it a bit the passion economy, right? It's people that are passionate about a certain item that they can deliver. And let me give you an example. Like, we were interviewing some of our customers. We have a team that interviews continuously all the customers about user journey and what's keeping them up at night, et cetera, et cetera. And even like more and more of those interviews are people with a job during the day, and in the evening they are using their TikTok influencing. They're using their web shops, they're using YouTube videos, et cetera, to create what I would call a side hustle. And they might be very passionate about watches, for example, and they have a side hustle reviewing exclusive watches online and then selling them through TikTok or through Instagram or through eBay at night, and make a bit of a buck on the side. And those businesses, those are technically businesses, and they're not being funded at all because they're overlooked by banks. They can't really point towards like, look at my nice statements. Mostly they run it from their own bank accounts because it's a sole trader kind of organization. And we actually look at their volumes and we're like, actually that's quite good. Here's $2,500 or $3,000 to buy some more watches or to buy some more hair pieces or to to fulfill your dream of actually running your side hustle. And what we see now is happening. It's actually quite a few of those I would say, quite a few of those passionate entrepreneurs are actually finding money and building their business on the back of cash flow that we provide, and I love it. I think that's it's the epitome of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I hear the creators economy, which is similar to the passion economy you're talking about. And yeah, I think it's a fast growing segment in the US. Sometimes they're called 1099 folks, right? The independent folks. So glad that you're addressing that because yeah, I think there's a huge opportunity there. And there are not many services, both kind of commercial and financial services, kind of targeted. I think it's an area of interest. A lot of fintechs are addressing, but I'm glad to see that you're already kind of looking into that.
Great.
Um, Shifting gears, it's 2025, and we'd be remiss if we don't talk about AI and agentic AI. And kind of thinking about what you just said about kind of how autonomous you are and how kind of frictionless you are. I would kind of submit that you're more than a co-pilot, right? Like in the AI, like I do a lot of AI shows, kind of the spectrum is your chatbot is kind of the least maturity. Then you have co-pilots, which is an aid. Agentic AI or agents are the ultimate, right? They're more autonomous and their intelligence, they can reason, things like that. So given that you kind of preemptively discern what the needs are, you're kind of at the agentic domain already, not so much a co-pilot. But talk to us about your thoughts on all that. You're already doing a lot of analytics and AI. So where does this all go? Do we kind of foresee small business CFO agents or small business operating agents as kind of a tool that maybe Liberis will provide that'll just make the small business owner's life easy? Talk a little bit about your thoughts on this.
Yeah. Look, where last year, maybe at the beginning of last year, people were still maybe a bit skeptical about Gen AI and what the impact would be on the economy. You, of course, will always have the evangelists to talk about how this is going to be world shifting paradigm, etc. I think over the last 3 to 4 months, with the advent of the new models from OpenAI, from Gemini, DeepSeek, now I need to say, the reasoning of it is, I wouldn't say it's flawless, but it is becoming incredibly accurate and incredibly good. And with the help that I already get personally from Gen AI and training up almost like a CEO advisor, we're absolutely looking at those advisors to small business owners and advising them on their inventory management, advising them on their sales channels, the effectiveness of marketing, financials, all these kind of what I would call AI bots that will come with data insights from real-time integrations, will make the life of a small business owner infinitely better over time. Now, some people say that's five years away. I think it's going to go incredibly rapidly, and I think over the next year to 2 years, you won't have AGI yet, the artificial general intelligence, but something that is akin to that, based on the data that you can upload into it, where you get instant prompts and instant ideas. You don't have to hire 3 people to advise you anymore on marketing, etc. You can just literally train up your own marketing agent in OpenAI based on the data that you provide. So I think that will impact small business owners quite a bit. And then from a Liberis perspective, what we're looking at and what we're already employing is we now have all of our calls are being screened by Gen AI. And from a compliance perspective, from a monitoring perspective, from a training your sales agent, training your customer services, we get the best insights from recording all these calls, and basically having it advise us like one of your sales agents is the best converter. Well, what did they do different versus the rest? Making sure it's compliant. So instead of doing a randomized kind of 5% check of your calls, we now have a 100% check of our calls, and every single call that you don't mention representative APR, for example, we can actually get back and say, by the way, you forgot that, you need to follow up with an email. So it's much more accurate as well. Now, all the way to launching a new product where you can actually train up your own product go-to-market kind of experts, and you can say, look, I really love this product from XYZ. Design me a product in the same kind of view of that. And it will come back with I would say an 80-20 kind of view of the world, but saving you probably 3 weeks or 4 weeks of research. All these kind of items, I think, is going to profoundly change the way that every single layer of an organization is doing business, from call center agents to legal departments to finance departments to analytical departments to underwriting, where you now can use real-time data for backed up by Gen AI. To the CEOs, the CFOs, and the executive team. I think every single one of us is going to be A, more productive, but B, change our mindset towards the menial work can be done by a Gen AI, maybe even an Agentic AI over time, and the real value added work and the stuff that you can't do through an AI. That's where we will stand at. Now, over time, I can easily see that fully autonomous decision making and being hyper personalized kind of views of our customers, where their contextual awareness of an AI is going to be whether somebody's buying inventory from China or is buying ad spend on TikTok. It's going to have a different pricing and a different structure and a different view of what the risk is. And if that's the next generation of underwriting, I can then actually provide multiple products through the same layer and the same embedded finance operating system, where you can actually recommend, for this you need you can do business to business buy now pay later. For that solution, you will have asset-based finance, and for your marketing spend, here's a flexi advance that you can draw whenever you need it, and we will give you insights on where you need to spend it. That's going to make a humongous difference over the next few years. And I sincerely believe we're 1 to 2 years away from that, maybe even less, rather than 5 to 10 years.
Yeah, I think so too. And I'm very connected to the AI thing in the Silicon Valley. There's a proliferation of agentic AI startups, agentic AI platforms to build agentic AI. Um, and Liberis and you, with your experience on both sides of the equation in small business, having worked at banks and having run small business, family background, small business, huge technology underpinnings already with what you built with data and analytics. I think Liberis and you are well positioned to take that small business agentic AI space, Rob. So I'll be looking forward to those announcements as they come. Maybe
I'll
in
keep
the
you
next.
updated.
Yeah, no, cool. We could go on. This is a fascinating topic, small business, fintech, and AI, but we're have to wrap. So in closing, Rob, what would you like to add? What are some of your next milestones? Who are you trying to connect in the ecosystem? And where should folks follow you and Liberis kind of in the usual social media if you want to give out any information?
Yeah, thanks for that, Patty. So, look, from a where's Liberis going towards, I really like your Liberis co-pilot analogy. We will help our partners, our platform partners, our ISVs, or payment partners. We will help them become top mind and center to their small business owners, and we do that through our embedded finance platform with multiple products. And over time, hopefully, all products that a small business owner needs, with the right product at the right time to the right customer. And that's what we're going to aim for, is not only 100% approval rate, but also like 100% value-added services product uptake. Now that's a lofty goal, and I'm pretty sure we have lots of work to be done. But to come and help us, or to follow us, needless to say, we have our LinkedIn that is quite active. We're also at quite a few of the trade shows, Money 2020 and FinTech Meetup, and all those kind of events. But the easiest way is just drop me a note, like rob@liberis.com, and I will definitely come back to you. We will have the team at various trade shows and events. But also, like, we have an office in Atlanta, we have an office in Stockholm, we have an office in Munich, we have an office in London, we have an office in Nottingham. We are anywhere and everywhere that you need us. So if you have an idea, if you have an opportunity, drop us a note, and I'd love to chat.
Awesome. So Rob@Liberis, that's LIBERIS.com. And looks like you're going to be at FinTech Meetup. I might be there. I was there the last couple of years, so we might get to meet in person. Thank you, Rob. And I'll look for those announcements. Looks like you're on a great trajectory, and we'll love to maybe have you back and talk about some of the progress. Thank you, Rob, for being on the FinTech Talk Show.
Thanks, Patty, for letting me explain what Liberis does, and up onto the next 2.5 billion of small businesses being funded.
Awesome. Godspeed. Thank you.